It's a shrine to working class life, right? This poem goes out to the handful, relatively small number in comparison with 7 billion people in the world, but this goes out to all those globalists in the world, or that small group of globalists in the world, that have divided us and conquered us for so long, and who are trying to do so more than ever now. I hope I don't make any mistakes for you. I'll try not. But here's my poem, The Right to Hate. You tell me what I can't say. You censor what I can. You say I'm offensive because I believe my eyes, and I say I see a woman, not a man. You call me thick and racist for not wanting to be a part of a rich man's club in Europe, or a global new world order with no soul or guts or heart. You throw at me the slave trade. You tell me my 4-year-old grandson is to blame. You point your branding, accusing, intolerant fingers and tell me to hang my head in shame. I'm free to have opinions as long as they fall in line with yours. I can fly my banners high and proud as long as you support that cause. You have to be right all the time. Yours is the only way. I have to like the things you like, be they black, trans, left or gay. It makes no difference if I tell you I'm not the things for which you accuse, 'cause once you've made up your closed-off minds, I'm always going to lose. I have black friends, so you're still a racist. Homophobic, but I've shared beds with gay men. I'm an anti-Semite, but the Rothschilds is the richest banking family in this world, and that's got nothing to do with them being Jewish and everything to do with them being multi-billionaires. Really do influence the dollar, pound and yen. You sip your Pinot Grigio in trendy bars down in the smoke, looking down your noses with loathsome contempt at billions of working class folk. Well, I've come here to tell you that you have had your time, 'cause the winds of change are blowing and bells of freedom soon will chime, 'cause my class, my fucking class, are waking up and stirring, and we're going to peacefully attack. We're going to breach those PC walls of segregation that have divided gay, straight, white and black. I've got no malice in my heart. I don't judge people on their sex or creed or race. I don't speak ill of absolute cunts behind the backs, not even the bloke who murdered me dad. I just tell them to the face. So to all you branding progressive liberals who won't allow debate, I hate no man or woman. I just want the right to hate. I want the right to hate like I want the right to love. I want to like and dislike what I want to like and dislike and be able to vocalise it, bruv. I'm not responsible for slavery, and I'm not taking any blame. 'Cause the white privilege built on black slavery you say that I enjoy, well, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Oprah Winfrey, Rihanna, Floyd Mayweather, Alicia Keys, Jamie Foxx, Barack Obama, et al. All enjoy the same. Beyonce spent $87 million on a house just through shaking that ass, while me and our lass sit at home lamenting about ways to pay the fucking gas. And I don't see too much white privilege in a system that lets East European refugees or wounded soldiers live in cardboard boxes. Why do Black Lives Matter and progressives fail to see not all white folks live in stately homes chasing fucking foxes? And I'm not homophobic, transphobic, racist or anything phobic, you see, 'cause I don't fear sex or race or gender. I just won't bow down to your PC. Don't confuse my use of slang with racism and bigotry. Don't confuse my rejection of your shite with spite. Don't naturally assume I'm thick and racist because I'm northern working class. I'm not. I'm articulate, sharp and bright. And I will not walk a minefield every time I open my mouth to speak. And I will not apologise for things I've glibly said or spoken tongue-in-cheek. So shape up or fuck off with your madness, 'cause I'm going to bring you down. I'm going to bring working class people, all people together, Muslim, Christian, white and brown. I'm going to bring those globalist walls of Jericho crashing round your brainwashed progressive liberal feet. And I'm going to blow my loving, inclusive, un-PC fanfare. And your communist, fascist, capitalist, socialist, left, right, Catholic, Protestant, Muslim, Christian, black, white, gay, straight, male, female, leave, remain, Republican, Democrat, afraid of COVID-19, unafraid of COVID-19, north, south, divides I will defeat. You globalists, you've divided us and conquered us for way too long. You've taken the piss out of us, and you've laughed at us, and you've shared the benefits at the top. Well, I've come back to this northern working class shrine in my hometown of Redcar to tell you, now really is the time for your shit to fucking stop. Peace. Now, I slowed that down because apparently I've got an American audience too. And we want it to go over there. We want this poem to go all over the world. It's not a poem of hate. It's a poem of tolerance. It's a poem of people coming together. It's a poem of people loving each other and disregarding the old way, the way that's kept us down and downtrodden for so long. I ask you, share this poem as far as you can. I don't know if Facebook have taken it down or not. I'm going to go up to County Durham now to see this bloke who made the post, uploaded this thing in the first place 3 years ago, 2 years ago. But I'm gonna go and see him. But if Facebook have taken it down, then let's keep on going. Let's share it some more. Let's show them that that we won't be beaten. Let's go. Come together. Share this post. Share the life out of this post. Thanks very much. God bless you and bye.
Now's really the time, as that man would have said, for this shit to stop. There's a lot of politicians today that will have a look at what's going on, and they'll be very, very worried at the things that they're permitting to slip into place. Now, that poem was written just over a year ago, from my recollection. I mind seeing it way back. And, you know, that poem you could have thought that was written for today. And that was a man that I guess that has been watching things as closely as some of us have. And we've progressively, and I'll use that terminology, we have progressively been slipping into a state of an open prison, in order to have that open prison, globalists, those with globalization in mind, well, they would use divide and conquer tactics again and again and again and again, and in a way that people, well, whenever they're divided, they can't stand against them. But who do we blame for the way things that have become? Who actually do we blame? Do we blame, or should we blame, those that we elected in order to serve and protect us? Those that, although that they would go against a vote, they would stand tall and stand clearly in a way that they vote against things. Like, take for example yesterday in the Northern Ireland Assembly, in where that most DUP representatives, along with the TUV, well, what they did was they tried to vote down the discrimination, the pending discrimination of a huge section of society, in where that one portion of society, because they're using their absolute right, well, that portion will be discriminated against and won't have the same privileges as other members of society. Yet the DUP, yes, they largely voted against this. But they voted against this in a, let's just say, in a window dressing type way. And why do I say that? Well, that was because that their First Minister, Paul Given, haven't given everything. Well, Paul, he would have agreed to have this type of thing on the agenda not too long ago. So forgive me if I look at the DUP right now and I say that what they appear to be doing in public, well, behind closed doors, they're doing the complete opposite thing. And why is it that some would say that we are heading towards an open prison? Why is it that some, like that man, would have been warning of this open prison for a very long time? Well, that's because that we've seen our brothers and sisters in other parts of the United Kingdom. We've seen them being treated like second-class citizens, being arrested, being put in jail for things that they didn't actually do, only to be let out with all charges dropped. And why? Because that they didn't agree with the things that globalization was forcing into place. What a poem. What a poem. And, written, although that it was written a while back, you could have thought that that poem was written for today. Perhaps what we'll do is that we'll play that poem at the very, very end. And one more thing before that we move on. If you're a political representative of British unionism here in Northern Ireland, if that you did actually vote against the conglomerate yesterday, whenever they voted to ensure that, and let me make this very, very clear. If you voted with that conglomerate in a way that draconian laws could be put in place, creeping draconian laws that would literally be putting in place a totalitarian regime, a regime in where that we end up with a police state. If you were a DUP member and you voted that into place, there's two things that I would actually advise you right now. And that would be that, number one, can you have it? Will you be able to have it within your conscience whenever you see what most of us have been warning about? Whenever you see that actually coming into place, whenever you see people losing their jobs, people not being able to have a job, and all because that they're using their absolute right to bodily autonomy, the right to be able to assess all information available, before that it is that what they would do is that they would permit medical interventions and take medicine that really and truly has not yet been tested. Are you going to be able to have that on your conscience, number one? And number two, are you going to be able to escape the wrath of people in the future whenever people realize that the DUP effectively, even though that some members voted against what was happening yesterday, but largely the DUP leadership, well, what did they do? They permitted this to be put on the agenda whenever they could have stopped it at the executive office. Now, this just isn't happening in Northern Ireland. This is happening the world over. But just because the world does it doesn't mean to say that we have to do it. Just because that the world is heading towards an open prison, well, we don't give our politicians the right to remove our freedoms that our forefathers would have fought and died for in order to ensure that we in 2021 could live a life free from totalitarianism. The totalitarianism that they, in times gone by, at different parts in history, the same sort of totalitarianism that many from within our own communities right around the United Kingdom, that they would have went and gave their lives for in order to ensure that it was a thing of the past. So I hope that the DUP here in Northern Ireland, the members that are turning a blind eye, literally turning a blind eye whilst this goes into place, I hope that they can have it in their conscience. And I do hope, I really hope, that they escape the wrath that is to come. And that would be the collective wrath of ordinary, decent citizens who don't like to be caged up and locked up against their human rights. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on for what it is that we're here to do this evening. I'll just take a deep breath. So this evening we've got a couple of people who will be joining us on screen. I just had a message there from one of them. Yes, that's okay. There's the second man actually lined up and teed up and ready to come. So firstly, what I would like to do is I would like to bring on a man called Peter Morris. Now, Peter Morris would be a man who has witnessed what totalitarianism looks like, has witnessed these wannabe dictators in Scotland. He has witnessed how that it is that what they do is they seek to literally ensure that ordinary citizens, ordinary people who want to be part of the United Kingdom, these totalitarians in Scotland, these wannabe communists, well, they would seek to ensure that these people are in Scotland, ordinary people, are demonized and diminished at every single turn. And they would use the police force against ordinary citizens. They would use laws in order to try to protect themselves from people who would use their right to stand up against them. Now, if you want to see what activism would be, well, we've got something lined up and something in store for you in order that you would understand what it means to be a real activist. And I say that loosely because whenever you see some of the footage yourself, you're going to understand what it means to have balls. And excuse me for saying that for some of the people that don't like those type of words, but what it means to have guts, to stand up against those that would mean you most harm. What I want to do is I want to begin by playing a little video. Now, on this video, I would like, it's a voice clip, and I would like for you to listen to the voice clip. And on the other end of this video, you'll have two people on screen, and we'll begin talking about the man at the other end of the voice, Peter Morris.
Mr. Lennon, that's the reality. It's under an SNP government, and it's why people don't ever want Labour back in government again.
Brigadier Sturgeon, why do so many of your party support the IRA? Do you think that's appropriate? Supporting the IRA and party administration and government?
Excuse me, please, sir. Can you come out?
John Mason, the sectarian bigot, won't support unionists in society. Yeah, laugh. Brigadier Sturgeon, how many support the IRA in your party, Nicola? John Mason called them Irish freedom fighters today, and he won't support unionists. SNP IRA. That's fine, I'll leave the vote. No problem. I want to go on and teach you about terrorists and government. Terrorists and government. Shocking.
So what you would have heard there, just for me to elaborate on what was happening, is that was Peter inside Holyrood, and he decided to highlight what he thought was a brigadier, a head of, and I'm going to say it, the head of a criminal gang, because I call the people in our Stormont government exactly the same. And why is it that we would like, or why is it that we do call these people criminals? Well, they don't do things by the book, and what they seek to do is they're good at asking for their rights, but whenever it comes to affording other people rights, well, they have other ideas, for example, on how to use the law enforcement as an enforcer of a dictator. Peter, welcome to your screen. And, I hope that I explained that in the best way possible. I mean, you were the man that was there. And what I would like to do is ask you to give your take on what exactly, why did you go to Holyrood? And what was it that made you decide to shout out in the way that you did? Welcome, Peter, to your screen.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me. I went to Holyrood because I tried engaging with the local councillors in my local area, and they wouldn't engage. There's another video people maybe see earlier, gives their opinion of me. I tried to engage with the MSPs, they wouldn't engage with me. I tried to engage with the MP, he wouldn't really engage with me either. So the last place that I could go as an activist was to address Nicola Sturgeon, and the only place I felt I could do that for maximum impact was the Holyrood Chamber, and that's why I did what I did.
Now, Peter, again, people got to excuse me here. What I'll do is I could continue to mute myself between calls. So you got to excuse me for taking a bit of time. And what it does is it provides a better quality of sound to you when there's so much on the screen. So what I'm going to do right now, and I think this is the best way to do things because we've got a lot of little clips to get through. And I've laid these clips out. I've looked at every single one of them, and I've laid them out in a way that I think actually makes sense. So what I want to do is that I want to go to clip number 2, Peter, and we'll play this and we'll move on because I think that this is the natural continuation of what people just heard.
Here, there you go. Okay.
So what are you stopping me for?
If you're fly posting.
I'm
No,
not
I'm not
fly
doing it. I'm not
I
going to
can
allow you
fly
to do
post
it.
if I
No,
want.
you can't.
Yes,
you
I can.
Have you
Yes,
got
I can.
permission?
You're going to stop me?
Well, I'll be
Have
taking
you
it down.
evidence of me doing it? Will you?
No, but
Go
you
ahead.
did fly post in Ladywood,
Go on
okay?
then. Go on
So,
then.
I'm not getting
Go
into an
ahead.
argument with you.
Okay.
Okay? I'm not asking you. I mean, you haven't got my permission, basically, to
I
take
don't
my
have to.
photograph.
You're in a public space.
No. At
Yes,
the
you
end
are.
of the
You're in
day-
a public space. It's public.
Okay.
Listen, do me a favour, mate. Go
Right.
back to your council.
No.
Learn the law and
Okay.
don't come telling me what I can and can't
Right.
do. If I want to film
I'm just telling you, if
I'm
you're
telling
interfering,
you,
if you're
I'm
interfering
not
with the election,
interfering with an election.
well, you were interfering with it.
Was I?
Ladywood.
Prove
Yes.
it. You're making an allegation against me now.
Okay.
How did I interfere with the election? at
Well, I
Ladywood?
don't know. I wasn't there. But this is
Exactly.
what
So
I'm
thank you.
hearing
So
it
do
from
me a
an
favour.
election
Do me a
day.
favour.
I'm not going to argue with
Go
you.
away and
There's
get
no
your
need to-
information correct.
Excuse me.
Don't come and make
Do not
accusations.
do not raise your voice at me.
Go walk away from. I'm asking you now to walk away from me.
Okay.
I want you to remove yourself from my personal
Okay.
space now.
Okay.
Do not come
I'm
up
not
to
in
me
your
and make
personal space.
accusations. You are my personal
If
space.
you're interfering with the election,
Can you
because of the
remove
police-
yourself from my personal space, please?
I'm just
I
saying,
feel
yeah, that's
threatened by you, and if you don't remove yourself,
Right, what am I
I'm
threatening
going to
you?
have to take appropriate action to remove you from my personal space because you're threatening me now, and I
Okay,
feel
am I in your
intimidated.
personal space now?
Now, can you go away and leave me alone, please? Thank
Not in
you.
your personal
You're not
space.
the police.
No.
You have no authority.
Okay.
You have no powers over me.
No.
Now, take yourself off.
But I'm just telling you.
See,
as well.
I'm telling you now. Do not come up to me and make accusations to me, okay?
Okay.
Until they've been proven. Thank you. Goodbye. And you'll be all over social media now.
Right. So again, Peter, I'm asking you to just tell people what that it was that happened there and why that you found yourself in that position.
That was December 12, 2019 general election, I think, and I'd been going around the polling stations in the local town since 8:30 in the morning. By 9 o'clock, I'd already been stopped by the police. That was the second polling station I attended. Obviously, a call was made about me standing outside the polling station. Wasn't breaking the law as per the first time I was approached by the police at the first polling station. That was a Lothian Council election official who, as you heard, he alleged that I had interfered with an election, but he hadn't witnessed it. He'd just been told that I had. So I had no evidence to make that allegation. So I asked him to remove himself from my personal space and move on.
And could you tell me and tell the listeners how that it is that he was suggesting that you interfered with an election?
At the first polling station I was at, as soon as I arrived, the police were called. Within half an hour, the police approached me, and they tried to allege that I was breaking election rules, which before I go out anywhere and do a protest, I always study the legislation or a piece of legislation which may be responsible for a particular act I'm going to engage in. The police didn't succeed in that. In another video, they actually have to go and speak to a superior officer and stuff. So from that point, and it was one party who kept phoning the police. Everywhere I arrived at a polling station, there's one party who kept phoning the police. And it became prominent as that day went on right through to the evening that night. I was out the whole day. I was stopped everywhere I went.
It kind of sounds like here in Northern Ireland, there's a party here called the Alliance Party. And it just sounds typical of what they would do, and all because they don't like opposition. And as in the words of that poem, you know, you allow us free speech as long as that we are talking about the things that you want us to talk about. And I think that's the way that the SNP would actually come across. So again, I just want to follow with another short video clip. And the reason why I want to follow with this short video clip is that you talked about the police coming up to you and actually, saying to you, well, there's been allegations made against you. And I think it's with reference that you were actually says that you were interfering with an election. So let's just hear this, and then you can give your commentary on this little clip also.
fucking go.
Back again, Peter, we need to take these posters in through there. So it's flight, as the council says that.
Council boy needs to get a grip. Coming in my face, telling me I interfered with an election in Ladywood.
Yeah, well, end of the day.
Who's passing this information? That I
Well,
interfered with an election?
and again,
You see what I mean?
you know how to do that, so that's to come down.
I didn't do that.
Well, how do you know? How do you know?
Well,
you're standing
we'll just
beside
take
it,
it
you got the
down
same
there.
then, that's
I
it.
didn't say I did it,
Aye.
really, so hang on. I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll just get 5-6 people standing in line with those exact same posters.
Which is fine.
No
There's no
problem.
problems doing that.
Aye, we
Right.
can't put it on there, they're seeing that.
So you're admitting now that there's nothing that can be done about me standing outside the polling station?
As long as you're not committing a breach of the peace, that's
That's it.
right. If they complain, if they get complaints, Peter, we need to deal with
It
them.
depends what the complaints are. They can't just phone up and say that he's standing there.
The problem is that if they phone the police, we've got to go
Well,
along and
that's
find
fine.
the
That's fine. I've
Aye.
stood here for half an hour,
Uh-huh.
not said a word to any of them, and you're here again.
Thing is, if they phone, we come along, we investigate, find out what's happening. If you've
But
done
you
nothing
can't-
wrong, we
But
leave.
it's harassment. The guys are speaking to me again for the second time this morning. Because who
aye.
phoned you this time?
Aye.
The SNP phoned you
No,
this
it's-
time.
somebody's phoned to the phone station, Peter, that's it.
Aye, the SNP guy walked in and done it. He was standing there.
You're not
And
telling
he was
us
the one that
that.
spoke to me. I know, not tell you that. That's twice. That's
So
twice the SNP's done it.
What you've got to say now is that if, wherever you go, Peter, in Fennecourt, you can't put that up, right? Because there's a boy that goes around the polling stations there, that he's the sort of the person in charge. He's
That's,
came up
that's
first.
nothing to do with him. It's public property. It's nothing to do with the boy for the polling place.
You're not allowed to fly close to Midlothian.
Where's the sign?
Doesn't matter, it's a public bylaw.
But where's
There
the
doesn't need to
sign?
be a sign, it's in legislation.
Right, so all these SNP posters are up, things that's up on posters, on lamp posters.
No,
fellas.
they're
None on
no,
lampposts.
They're
Not
not.
in
You've not seen
Midlothian.
them. I'll send you them.
No, you send me
Send
them,
me
we
an
can
email
deal
address.
with
I'll
that.
send you them.
No doubt, because they're not up to date, Peter, now.
But as for them, every time I appear somewhere, they're phoning the cops. They want to get a grip and stop wasting police resources. That's what they want to do. And stop harassing people.
So, Peter, could you just tell me? I mean, obviously, they were taking a poster down, I can see. And that was obviously a poster that you had put up on that pole beside you. But, I mean, I heard you saying there that the SNP had posters up to do with elections. I mean, firstly, what would have been on your poster, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I'm not the type of person who put posters on a lamppost. I'll leave that there. But the
Okay.
posters that were on the lamppost were saying that Nicola Sturgeon and the SNP have caused more damage to Scotland than anyone else, which is a true story. And we were also handing out tactical voting leaflets that day, and I think that's what really wound them up, the fact that we were giving out tactical voting leaflets that day. And everywhere I went, the police were called, and as you can hear me say, that was the second time that morning, and it continued like that throughout the day, everywhere I went.
And the same again, Peter, you know, and I do wish that we had a lot more time to do this, but we've got quite a few little clips to go through. And I think it's the best way of doing things because each clip really leads to another, in my honest opinion, whenever I've watched through them. So now what I want to do, and I'm assuming this was the same people that you had been following up on later that day. And I just want people to listen to what these people had to say. So here we go with another little clip. Sorry, that was probably the wrong clip. So it was, and I don't know where I am with the clips. Unfortunately, I meant to go with another clip, but we'll go with some clips and we'll talk about them. Please accept my apologies. That was totally my fault in the way that these things go. So let me add this one, and then we'll talk about this one, and we'll come to the relevant clip in a second.
Irish supporting scumbags! IRA supporting scumbags! Scottish Nationalist Party! Nationalist scum off our streets!
So again, if you would just like to explain to people what was happening there, now I'm going to draw people's attention to one fact. is that you're a man that's standing there, possibly on your own, possibly with someone else, and you're in amongst quite a few Scottish nationalists, and they've been known to be violent. Peter, let's just clarify that. So, would you like to tell people what happened in that clip?
Yeah, there was me and someone else that was with me that day. We started down at Holyrood, and we actually walked up the Royal Mile with a Union flag while they were all walking down the Royal Mile to congregate for the start of their parade. Now, just prior to them coming up, now that was part of the cabinet. That was MPs that were walking up to behind that first banner. Just prior to that, the motorbikes that came up the street, the independents or bikers for independence, and a couple of them tried to run me over at the side because we're standing by a Union flag. Now, a force for good always attend these parades or these independence marches, but they are corralled in behind barriers. And they were on the opposite side of the road from me. And I thought, I'm not going to get corralled in amongst barriers for these people. These are our streets as well as theirs. So we took the decision to stand where we did on the Royal Mile in the middle of them and let our view known.
Good. And again, this clip probably would be a follow-up to what had happened. And now, we're not going to play this full clip because I think it goes on for over 10 minutes. But what we want to do is that we want to get a taster of then what happens to you whenever that you go to make a stand for what it is that let's remember what it is that most people in Scotland would have voted for in the independence referendum. I mean, what you're fighting for and what your activism is all about is to keep Scotland part of the greatest union that the world has ever seen, that union being the union of the United Kingdom. And for doing that and for going to highlight these things and to try to tell the Scottish Nationalist Party that they don't represent the greater number of people in Scotland, well, this is what's used against you for deciding to partake in that particular type of activism. So let's just play this for a second.
We were receiving information anonymously that you may have been targeting Nicola Sturgeon and Jeremy Corbyn during the election period. Okay.
Right. And did I do that?
Of course not.
Right. So there's a malicious thing, right?
Yes.
I'll relate us into something here then, okay? I've been crucified by the SNP in Kennedy since I came back to Belfast with my 4 kids.
Right.
My kids have been tortured. My kids have been told to go back to Belfast, go back to where they come from. The local councillor, Joe Wallace, tried to send 2 fellas to my door during the recent by-election in Penicuik because we challenged them up in the precinct, which we entitled to do as constituents about the policies.
Okay.
He tried to send 2 fellas to my door.
Right.
On Remembrance Sunday, just past in Penicuik Public Park, our lodge in this town laid a wreath for the first time in 20 years. We laid a wreath at 8:30 on the Sunday morning in our public park, okay? On the Monday morning, another local councillor, Debbie McCall, put on social media platform on Facebook saying that the wreaths have been thrown about the public park except for 1 wreath, okay? And they were going to the police. Then we went to the police. Me and the past master for lodge went to the police.
Sure.
And the only wreath that was left, that they allege was left, was the one from the Orange Order.
Okay. Right.
Right? The statement that they gave to the police, there was no wreaths thrown about the park. It was alleged that the wreaths were placed on the grass, and it was only 1 wreath that was left. Now, you know, in this day and age, if there's wreaths thrown about a park, people are going to take a picture.
Of course.
It's going to go on social media. There's no pictures of this. There was an SCP councillor put it on a public forum saying they were thrown about to create anger. Right?
Okay.
There was an SNP boy that allegedly found this on the Monday morning. So it's 2 SNP people trying to pinpoint our lodge because we're in the Orange Order and they don't go on with us and they don't respect us. Right? So why is she going on a public forum saying that the wreaths were thrown about the park? To create further anger and hate towards individuals within this community, which is people like myself who are members of the Orange Order and we're British. And we challenge the SNP on the policies, which we're entitled to do. And this just adds up again, malicious calls to you guys. Jeremy Corbyn. I met Danielle Rowley face to face in her office in Dalkeith. You can contact her. I sat with her in her office. I met Ian Murray, who's the Labour MP for Edinburgh South West, and I spoke to Martin, I think it's Martin Whitfield, who was the Labour candidate for East Lothian. I spoke to the 3 of them during the election campaign. I sat with them. I voted for Daniel Rowley to get in. So this is the SNP yet again. And I guarantee you this.
We don't have any information on who has sent this in because it is an anonymous entry. We actually didn't act on it because we didn't see any threat through it itself.
I was out on election day. Do you know what they did then? We've got the right to protest around polling stations as constituents, okay? You've got the canvassers standing outside the polling stations. We're quite entitled to question them on policies if you're going to vote. I spent the day going around the polling stations, didn't speak to any one of them, and I got followed by the police. I started at 8:30 in Laidwood. By 9 o'clock I was stopped with the police outside that leisure centre because Debbie McCall phoned the police because I was there outside the polling station. I went through there to Cornbank. Within 5 minutes of me being there, I had the police up me there. Everywhere I went, and then I found out various ones after that, and it was seen. There was 9 police in Penicuik on election day. You never see those amount of police in Penicuik. I was going in polling stations on my own until my mate came out with me after his work. And we got followed every single where we went. And everywhere we went, as an SNP boy actually told us that the police were going round the polling stations the whole day asking if I'd been round them. And
Peter, on that clip, and I know that it goes on for quite some time afterwards, but I mean, the general, what was happening there was that they came along, they had nothing to charge you with or anything. Maybe elaborate on exactly what happened and what was the outcome.
Yeah, I was quite shocked to see these two boys standing at my door one morning. This was about a week after the December 19, or the 12th of December 2019 election. These two guys arrived on my front doorstep and I invited them in. They gave me permission to record them being in the house. And they said what they said. Someone of the Les had been targeting Nicola Sturgeon and Jeremy Corbyn during the election. They seen no threat, they seen no risk, and that's why they didn't come prior to the election. But I'd imagine that's why maybe we did see so many police in the town on election day if they'd got that call beforehand.
Hi, Peter, there would be 2 more clips. So there would, and what I want to do is that I want to go through these very short clips again and just ask you what was it that was happening. And again, I'm saying to Herbie in the background, Herbie, we'll be with you as soon as we can. But we'll put it like this here. We'll have to go extend Herbie's time on here. So be it, because we need to get through these 2 clips. And then we need to get to the end and we need to ask you really a few questions about your activism. But I feel we need to show these first.
The boots are different. The boots are different. Oh.
How's that?
Take the pictures. This is a butcher's apron, and I'm a Scottish terrorist.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we are. I'm a Scottish terrorist. You just showed yourself up to the SNP.
You're not a
You just. I'm not. I'm
Listen,
British.
I'm
British.
a Protestant.
I'm British.
I'm Protestant.
Right to be British.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. We're all born under the Union Jack.
The butcher's apron.
Peter, over to you again. That was the clip that I meant to play after the police outside the polling station, and I'm assuming that was probably on a similar day, was it?
Yeah, it was around about the same time. Yeah, I mean the video says it all really. Because of the Union flag, it was called the Scottish terrorist. And she even goes on to religion and says she's a Protestant and I'm not. So I'm a Scottish terrorist simply for the fact that I'm carrying a Union flag, which it gives an insight into the mentality of the SNP.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's the mentality of so many of these so-called progressives right around the United Kingdom, not just in the United Kingdom, but in Ireland and also across the Western world. I mean, these people, they don't want anyone else to have an opinion other than the opinion that they have. They don't want you to exist. They would rather see you, and I'm not being funny when I say this, but they would love to see you dead, is the truth of the matter, which really, really beggars belief. So let's get to the last clip, Peter, and you can tell us then about this. Go on to really talk about yourself, Scotland, and your hopes, your fears, and your ambitions for the future. What is it that you're going to be doing next, and what is it that you hope that people in Scotland will come together in order to do when you have so much, and I'm going to say tyranny, which is being forced towards ordinary decent citizens, and for what? For standing up for what they believe in. So let's play this clip, Peter, and we'll come straight back.
thick about their thoughts over here. I'll sit in about here, something not going to move from my point.
Now, at this point, people, what I would like to do is I would like to ask the live chat just to watch Peter and to watch the amount of photographers that are around him. And I'm thinking that the photographers are around Peter because I think that they're looking at him and they're saying, what's one man doing in amongst all of this? Watch very carefully.
Which one? Oh, right. Where? What?
Be careful.
Yes, I'll try. I've already tried to both sides.
Anybody wants to join the march and work as a Parliament together and united for a free Scotland? Feel free to join! Tell me I will come. Said I was a believer. I live happy, said yes, my friend, I'll be my when I die, I'll bring my arm from the lost shore. We will have a country where all can be assured. A nation of equality, fairness and respect, and a government we propose.
You should bring a Philippines flag.
Now, if I could just put that in context, I mean, that was one Glasgow Rangers fan in amongst a crowd of Celtic fans. That was one loyalist supporting loyalist in amongst a march of hunger strike supporting Republicans. Do you know what I mean? That's just that's what it was, and that's why that all those photographers, that what I would say was a press pack, had gathered around Peter on that day. So, okay, Peter, whatever possessed you to do such a thing? And if you could just set the context, the scene for us in terms of, I mean, obviously there was someone taking your pictures from your end of the thing. I mean, who decided to go there? How many of you were there? And did you think that you weren't putting yourself in danger by doing so?
There was two of us attended. I came up with the idea. We had to do something at the end of Independence. Well, it was all under one banner was the title of that march that day. So we went in. We were approached by the police. I mean, we were tackled by Scottish nationalists anyway, who were threatening us as soon as we arrived there. And they were monitored by the police the whole time. You see the two police in the blue vest behind me kept looking back to see what I was doing because they knew we were going to do something but didn't know what. And it was planned when we got to that point, just outside Holyrood, the Parliament. My aim was to walk in front of them and give a new meaning to all under one banner. All under the Union flag was a banner that they were going to march around that corner on. And that was my intention, was to walk in front of them and lead them around that corner, all under one banner, and that banner being the Union flag.
Yeah, very cleverly put together whenever you say it in that way, because not many of us would have seen it in that way. But, and again, Peter, as I said to you a few weeks ago, is that, you know, some people think that people do this for attention. Well, I'm going to say, yes, they do it for attention, but not for attention for themselves, because as you'll have seen and as you'll have heard, Peter would have been putting himself in danger to grab such attention. But by grabbing such attention, what you can often do is you can often make the headlines, and you can often make other people in other parts of the country stop and listen and to look at what's going on. And, you know, as I said to you just a few weeks ago, is that sometimes the headline grabbing events are also the things that would give others the strength and the nerve to go and do such things. Because really what we do need to do, and I'm not just talking about from yourself and a Scottish nationalist standpoint, but right around the United Kingdom, we need to be standing up against those that and I'm going to say it in this way, those that have teamed together in order to derail our successes. Isn't it time that we all stood together respectively? That's no matter why we're from England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. That's no matter where we're from, right around these British Isles. I'm even going to extend into Ireland right now, and I'm going to tell you that there are so many people that are now against Sinn Féin that, well, your enemy's enemy is your enemy. And we would be fools not to capitalise upon those people who detest Sinn Féin with a passion. Because let's get this straight. Let's get this absolutely straight. Things have moved on slightly since the old days, and things are completely different than they used to be. Right now, it is those with conservative principles that are, in general, that are wanting to protect their nationality. I'm going to say that democracy needs borders, and you've those others on the other side that wants to remove borders, and by doing so, they end up removing democracy. And that's what we're seeing right now. And I'm going to say, Peter, that democracy is the single greatest asset that we as people have for settling societal contentions. Now, what happens whenever we lose that democracy? What happens whenever that we can't go to the polls and settle those societal contentions? Well, we've seen it in the past here in Northern Ireland, is that when things can't be sorted out through politics, people take other things and they go to try to settle what it is that politics actually won't settle for them. So, Peter, look, again, if you would like to address the live chat, I'm going to ask you a question before we close, is that you call this platform Restore. If in Scotland, or looking at it from a broader United Kingdom perspective, if in Scotland or right around the United Kingdom you would like to restore something, what is it right now that you would like to restore, Peter?
My Britishness.
As short and as sharp as that, and I have to say, well, that's the best answer that we've ever had, because people normally go for something long-winded. But look, if restoring Britishness is if that's what you want to restore, well, look, we, the people on our live chat, the people at Restore, we're all behind you, Peter, for definitely restoring Britishness right around the United Kingdom. And I do see a man there on the live stream, and I'm going to actually ask him to, I'll be contacting him very, very soon. And I know that he does his own podcast. But look, Frank, if you would like to at some point maybe come on and speak as a man from England, from London, and I would like to do the same thing with you if you would agree to do so. That would be brilliant, absolutely brilliant, because I feel that, Frank, you have a story that other people here would need to, well, they would love to listen to, and they could learn a lot from yourself. So, Peter, once again, thanks very much.
No problem.
Don't be a stranger, mate. And as you know, you're going to be part of this channel anyway, along with David there, who does the Restore Scotland thing on Tuesday. And keep up the good work, keep up the activism, keep highlighting things, because you're not just doing these things for yourself, but what you're doing is you're winning hearts and minds in the process, and you're also giving others you're putting it in their minds that this is what should be done. And if you want to have results, well, you've got to get up and you've got to get out and you've got to be fearless in the way that you do things.
Can I just say one thing, John, before I go? I'm just one person in a small part of Scotland. There's many other people who's doing lots of stuff behind the scenes. I'm only seen because I'm out there public. I'm just one person in a small part of Scotland. But thanks very much for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, look, thank you. As I say, I think everybody's enjoyed your activism, and most especially that end bit there where, as I say, you're in amongst, it's like a Rangers fan in the middle of all those Celtic fans, waving his Union Jack. And yeah, I think they were more shocked than you were.
Yep.
Peter,
cheers, thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
So moving on, people, we're here for a couple of things this evening. We wanted to bring Peter on, and we've been talking to Peter for quite some time. We've been looking at the little clips, and I have to say, there's characters right around the kingdom, and I have to say that Peter's one of those characters that we could all take a leaf from his book. And honestly speaking, some people think that people they participate in activism in order to enhance themselves. But what right-minded individual would put himself through that, put himself through the hassle of police coming to him, put himself through the hassle of police actually attending his home, and in a way that what they're trying to do is they're trying to actually impress upon him that he shouldn't be doing these things. He shouldn't actually be standing against those that mean him and everything that he's ever believed in the most harm. So we've got to take our hat off to Peter for doing so. Right, people, so what we want to do now is that we want to go on. This morning, I met up with a man that was on this channel. He was on here before, and he was on in and around the time that Dennis Hutchings had died. And that wasn't too long ago. And this man, what he does and what he continues to do is that he continues to stand up for those that would be veterans, the persecuted and the prosecuted whenever they come to Northern Ireland to face trial in their old age. Well, this man that will be coming on our screen, what he does is that himself and others, not just exclusively this man, but certainly this is a man that I'm focusing on this evening, but he's there religiously to stand up for those from England, Scotland and Wales who would have, remember, they would have given their time to come here to place themselves in danger, often being fired upon, in order to serve and protect the people of the United Kingdom, the people of this part of the United Kingdom, being Northern Ireland, the people who would selflessly stand up against IRA terrorism to ensure that the people of Northern Ireland, well, they had a sense of normality. Now, Herbie Walker is this man's name. And this morning I met up with Herbie with reference a little project that what we want to do is that we want to create 100 woods, a centenary wood project where there's going to be 100 trees planted in 100 different places right around Northern Ireland. And we spoke to Herbie this morning with reference the first wood that we would have attended, the first site of a potential wood that we would have attended in where that Herbie had identified. And honestly speaking, well, let's watch this little video and then we'll come back, and what we'll do is that we'll bring Herbie on screen and we'll begin talking to him. So just bear with me for a second and I look for the video. I should have had it actually lined up, but here we go. Over to the video, and then coming back, you'll have myself and Herbie on screen. Okay, so we're here in the Braniel Estate, and as you'll see behind us here, there's a huge expanse of greenery, right for as far as the eye can see. And the reason why we're here is we're here in connection with what's known as the 100 Wood Project, in where what we hope to do is that we hope to identify 100 sites right around Northern Ireland, where what we can do is that we can have 100 trees in 100 different locations, which would be as a marker to the very fact that 2021 Northern Ireland was 100 years old. And what we actually want to do is that we want to name these sites, these woods, after people from our history, from our 100 years of history from here in Northern Ireland. And whenever I had actually explained to Herbie Walker about this project, well, Herbie had actually come up with the name of the wood. Herbie, could you tell people who it is that you would like to name a wood after, hopefully on this very site in the Braniel in East Belfast?
The name is Dennis Hutchings. This is a name that I'll always respect, and a name that will always be with me.
And Dennis, he wanted to come here to Northern Ireland in order to actually clear his name, so much so that he was a vulnerable adult. He was on dialysis, he had various medical complications, and he was advised not to come to Northern Ireland, but yet he had only 6 months to live, Herbie, and he wanted to spend that 6 months actually clearing his name. Now, unfortunately, as we know, he didn't get to clear his name. So, Herbie, I think that this site in the Braniel in East Belfast, and the very fact that you would want to seek to name a wood in the memory of Dennis Hutchings and call it the Dennis Hutchings Wood, I mean, I think it would be a very, very fitting tribute to, and I'm going to say this, to someone that would come here to Northern Ireland to stand between what was aggression, what was terrorism, IRA terrorism, and in defence of the people, in order to ensure that people had some sense of normality. And what more of a fitting tribute could there be other than to do the right thing, to name this area in the name and in the memory of Dennis Hutchings. Herbie, would you just like to perhaps say a few words with reference? I mean, what we do want to do, Herbie, is that we also, I mean, we want 100 trees in this area, and we would like maybe people from the area to come out and dedicate each tree in the memory of something from our history, something from our past. I mean, it could be someone like a suicide victim or whatever. Just do you think that there's a chance of getting those people to come out and name those trees in the memory of other people?
John, I have no doubt whatsoever. Say I'm up there coming nearly 50 years, and I've actually people that have committed suicide actually pretty close to where we're standing here at Shandon Park Golf Club. There is a lot of people in the Braniel that would 100% come along, enjoy the project and get on board. And just as what we're saying about Dennis Hutchings was actually cleared last week, and Dennis was an innocent man, as we say, and there'd been more fitting tribute for a man and his family for this wood to be named after Dennis. It would be a great fitting tribute to the great man, John. I've actually been in touch with Sharon Hutchings, Dennis Hutchings' daughter, and I was actually explaining about what your plans was about these woods. And it would be lovely for her and her family, her daughter, whoever wants to come over, and it would be actually great for her to plant the first tree in dedication to her father.
Brilliant, Herbie. And again, I'm just going to mention these words yet again. It's the Centenary Wood Project, otherwise known as the 100 Wood Project, in where there would be 100 trees in 100 different locations right around Northern Ireland. Now, this is the first site that we've actually stood on. This is the first site that Herbie here has identified, and it's very fitting as to who that this wood would be done in the memory of. And we have other locations right around Northern Ireland, and over the course of the coming days and weeks, what we'll be doing is that we'll go into different locations with different people, and we'll be talking about why that it is that these particular woods in different locations will be named after heroes from the actual community. Herbie, once again, thanks very much for coming along here. Thanks for identifying this site. I mean, this is a well-chosen site. Again, we'll let the people just look back into the distance just to show you that, I mean, these trees, 100 trees wouldn't fill too much of this area. And I have to say that I'm looking forward to the day that we come along here, and what we do is that we do what we normally do in a ceremonial type way. We honour those people who would have stood up for us in the past, and I think that's the only true commemoration that we can make to those people. Herbie, thanks very much for coming along, and again, I hope you're looking forward to it, Herbie.
I am very looking forward to it, John, and I actually just can't wait till the day, or we get a date for the first tree planted, so I can let Dennis's family know when it is, and I'm sure they'll have great pleasure to come up over to Belfast to plant the tree in honour of Sharon's father, Dennis.
Herbie, thanks very much, and no doubt we'll see you on this spot very, very soon.
You will.
Thank you. So there you go. That was this morning, and you got to excuse the sound, the wind, as Herbie will confirm in a moment. We're standing talking 1 minute, and the next minute the camera was upended with the wind. And well, anyway, I mean, that camera should have been capable of cutting out the wind. But the truth of the matter is that I think that something dislodged whenever that happened, Herbie. So when we put that back together again and tied the thing down again, I don't think that the camera was properly connected. But anyway, just on one thing before they bring you in, and this is with reference to Lynn Angel here that I say, yes, you're absolutely right, Lynn, is that, yeah, the family should be asked first, and that's absolutely right, that would be done. And Herbie's already in contact with Dennis Hutchings' daughter. So again, if you would like to leave your messages in the live chat with reference, I mean, if you think that that's a good idea, if you think that it's a good idea to have a 100 wood project where there's 100 trees planted in 100 different locations right around Northern Ireland, which would mark the centenary of Northern Ireland, started in 2021. If there was 100 woods named after 100 different people from our history, right from 100 years ago, right up to the current day. I mean, it could be anybody that wood could be named after. And also, we want every single tree in each one of those woods, all 10,000 trees, to be dedicated in the honour in the memory of someone. And, I mean, it could be, as we were talking about it earlier, it could be a suicide victim. It could be somebody from the area who has stood over and above the rest. It could be a veteran. It could be a nurse. It could be absolutely anyone. I mean, that's down to the communities who that it is that they would want to name those trees after. And I'm going to say that if that happens, I mean, certainly speaking right now, and through the generosity of the people on here, I'm pleased to say that we are claiming towards having the money for actually 6 woods, and that's the purchasing of the trees and the plaques and everything else. And I've got to take my hat off to the people on the live stream here who continuously puts money into this project, and it's grown day by day by day. And each and every person that we have asked, even DUP people, without mentioning any names, will they have thought, well, we would like one of them in our area, and this is a good thing for tourist value. And the very fact that what we would do is that we would actually collate the information for people to go around and to find out, well, why is it that those trees were dedicated to why was the name of the wood named that way, and why was each and every one of those trees within that community dedicated and in memory of this, that, or the other person. Herbie, thanks very much for coming along again. And Herbie, just over to you. And I came to you just a few weeks ago, and right away you said to me that, John, I think that this would be a good idea. And straight off you mentioned that man's name, and I would just like for you to tell people your thought processes and what you thought of the project whenever you heard about it.
Well, first, John, my reply to Lenny Angel would be that Dennis Hutchings' daughter, Sharon, that I have been in touch with her from when Dennis died, and she's fully aware of what my plans are for to name this. Dennis lived in Cornwall. He came across from Cornwall to Northern Ireland, and I think from him fighting in Ulster, from the enemies of Ulster, then dying in Ulster, I think this would be a great fitting tribute. This man is, he's left the impression he's left in me out of the 5 soldiers that have been up to now, John. And Sharon even says that she'd be fully on board of what's happening. And I would love for Sharon, John, Dawn, whoever it may be, and out of Dennis's family. I'm sure they all know that. I'm sure Sharon's relayed what I've said to Sharon. I'm sure she's relayed the rest of the family about this wood, John. And it's only somebody like yourself, John, who come up with something like this, because nobody else has come up with anything in this in the 100th year of Northern Ireland.
Herbie, let me just clarify. I can't take all the credit, and it started off with myself and our good friend Jim Werner in the background. And whenever we're having an event this week at Stormont at 1:30 on Saturday at the base of Carson statue, and what we're doing is that we're going along to Stormont to commemorate our centenary. And I had said that on that day, well, look, what if we plant the tree? And I have to say, or sorry, was it Jim? Maybe it was the other way around. I just can't mind what way it came around. And this is Jim here. Oh, right. Well, there was nothing can be done about that. That's Jim. That's the same man. So what if we could plant a tree on the day? This is what we thought. And I don't know who it was that said what, but somebody says about 1 tree, and the next minute somebody says about 100 trees. And then the next person says about 100 trees in 100 different locations. So if you're going to do something, you've got to do it right. And that's what I believe. So I can't take the full credit for it. And then whenever we started talking to the various people that works at Restore here in the background, well, they were adding all their bits to it. And I have to say, well, we can't actually tell all about this project because there's various twists in the whole equation. But look, already, I'm very, very happy to say that the people here at Restore has actually they've contributed enough for 5 of these woods, and already we've identified places like Ballymoney, County Antrim, where our good friends up there, Well, we've talked to them about what you call a William Hannah Wood. And again, I'll just tell this brief story about a man called William Hannah. I'm just going to pop this up because I can't remember what way it went, and Jim will explain for you. Yes, John, you said 1, I says 100. Then we agreed 100 places. So that's how it grew, and it grew legs. But back to William Hannah. William Hannah was a 14-year-old from Ballymoney in County Antrim who joined the war effort whenever he was 14 years of age. Could you imagine? And I'll just tell this story very briefly. Just a few years ago, I dedicated a plaque at a veterans rally in the memory of William Hannah, and we dedicated at a memorial up there. And just to briefly tell that story, because this is a story in where that in every street, in every town, and in every city, there are people just like William Hannah who just over 100 years ago would have decided that what they wanted to do is they wanted to stand up for their fellow men. They wanted to join the war effort to fight against what was aggression against the United Kingdom. They wanted to stand up for and on behalf of their communities. And, and I often put it like this, is that greater love hath no man than a man that would lay down his life for his friends. And young William Hannah, at the age of 14, he joined the war effort. They extracted him from the war effort. He escaped to Hamilton in Scotland at the age of 16, would you imagine? It sounded as if he wanted to go to work whenever I learned the story. But what he did was he joined the war effort in Scotland. He fought his way through France. He fought his way into Belgium. And he lost his life at the age of 18. Now, as I say, what was it that would have drove a 14-year-old to want to stand up for the community in which he lived? And, as I say, there's no more fitting of a testament to, excuse me, I choke up when I hear this, but or when I think about it, but there's no more fitting of a testament to somebody like William Hannah, who would have greater love hath no man than a man that would lay down his life for his community, for the wider society in which he lived, for the United Kingdom. And that's the way that we need to remember these heroes. And, Dennis Hutchings is no different from the likes of William Hannah and all of those other heroes which came from the towns, the streets, the cities, right around the United Kingdom. And, whenever our politicians are an absolute disgrace in terms of how that it is that they've treated these people, how that it is that they've treated the memories of these people, how that it is that they permit the circumstances in where Dennis Hutchings was persecuted, prosecuted, a man who wasn't well, a man that was on kidney dialysis, a man that was advised not to travel to Northern Ireland, and a man who paid the ultimate sacrifice. After which, remember this, Dennis Hutchings gave himself to come and to stand here between IRA terrorism and a sense of normality for the people of Northern Ireland. And that's how we need to remember those people. Because in my book, Herbie, that is a hero. That is an absolute hero. Herbie, would you just like to talk a bit about Dennis Hutchings? And then what I want to scratch the surface with you on is also there's another man who will be in court again just after Christmas. And again, we heard it today, we heard it a few days ago, in where that they seem to be lining up and teeing up to persecute and prosecute those heroes that gave themselves. Now, let me make this absolutely clear. Absolutely clear. I would be on record as saying that if anybody should be in court for the things that happened in Northern Ireland, because there were some things that went wrong, I would be on record as saying that if anybody should be in court, it should be the British government who sent the veterans here in the first place, and it should be the IRA terrorists that caused the circumstances in where that the veterans had to come here. That's my take on it, and I will never change from having that thought process. Herbie, over to you if you would like to talk about Dennis Hutchings, and then if you go on and tell people about the next persecution and prosecution, potential prosecution, which is coming down our line.
We all know who is to blame for about our soldiers getting put through at the minute. Tony Blair and his government. And successive governments after that, John. You know, if they'd done less appeasing the Sinn Féin IRA and left our veterans alone, they lived their life in peace, John. Unlike Dennis, but Dennis wanted to come to Northern Ireland, John, to prove he was an innocent man. And only last week, he was proven to be an innocent man. But for a man in his age and his health, all his conditions, John, the British government made him stand to face a court that had already found him innocent twice before, John. You know, there's a lot of people who can say are heroes. Dennis Hutchings is my hero. So I used to phone Dennis sometimes every Sunday, sometimes every other Sunday. I got to know Dennis on a personal level, not just as somebody who was standing outside the court and supporting John, as Operation Banner supporters group do.
And Herbie, you know, whenever we think about the next man, which is, and again, I have to keep continuing to clarify things. And I'm asking, wherever you're from, if you're a nationalist, if you're a Catholic that's on this channel, I'm asking you to listen, and to listen very carefully, because these people, they did come. They were sent here by the Ministry of Defence. They were sent here by the British government. They were sent here to stand between warring factions. They were often placed in the line of fire. How many of them lost their lives when they were here? So it was no easy task for a British soldier who was greatly outnumbered on many of occasion, you know, whenever they were here. So it must have been a very, very scary place for those guys. And many of them ended up with PTSD as a result of the things that they had to face whenever they were here. And all I'm saying is that, you know, do we give more credibility to people that would, you know, blow up people in the middle of the night, that are responsible for some of the most heinous crimes ever known to man? And, you know, I could name, I'll name a few, because, I mean, I've talked about these things for many, many years. We done the victim stories. And let me tell you about one victim in Strabane in the 1970s. You know, a little child and his mum moved away from an IRA bomb to a place of safety. The police had moved them to this place of safety, and I think the place was called Abercorn Square. And, you know, that child sitting in the pram, the bomb went off, causing glass to shower that baby and to literally cut that baby apart and to kill it stone dead. So these were the type of people that we're talking about. These were the type of people that would have, and I can speak from experience here in terms of, say, the Shankill bomb, and people like our good friend Jim Werner that's on our screen could also speak with experience in these terms. Is that, you know, we seen these people walk by some child footballers with a bomb in a bag, which was highly unstable, which actually went off, killing one of these bombers and you know, almost killing the other one. And you know, who did they murder on that day? Who did they slaughter? They slaughtered 9 innocent men, women, and children. You know, take for example Michael Morrison, Evelyn Bird, Michelle Bird, little Michelle. You know, kids, children. They didn't care who they murdered. And they've never ever apologized properly for what it was that they done. In fact, they continue to glorify these people as if these people were freedom fighters, killing one child at a time. So I'm saying this, that if you're a nationalist, if you're a Catholic, if you come along here, if you stumble upon this, well, I believe that many of you people are now beginning to realize that, were these people saving Ireland? Were these people standing up for Ireland? Were these people chasing a united Ireland? Well, now that you know that, of course they weren't, because what they've done is that they have taken the money, they have taken the power, the fame, the glory in many cases, and they don't care about ordinary nationalists or ordinary Catholics. So try to weigh up in your own mind, whenever you hear of a British soldier being persecuted and prosecuted, well, that British soldier is not being persecuted and prosecuted for him having come here of his own bat. And I can tell you without fear of contradiction that he most certainly didn't come here to kill any nationalists or kill any Catholics. He came here because he was ordered to do so by the Ministry of Defence, the same Ministry of Defence who have scapegoated these poor fellas whose only task, whose only job, whose mode of training would have led them to the point whereby that they were here to stand up for you, I, and everyone else. And that's no matter if you're a Catholic, a nationalist, a Protestant, a unionist, a loyalist, or whoever. They didn't differentiate. They came here to ensure that the bad boys didn't actually have their way. Herbie, would you like to just talk about the next man that's coming down the line? I know that you know a wee bit about that, and if you can try to fill people in on when that's happening and when this man will be in court if everything continues to go in the way that they seem to be progressing.
Well, the next up is Dave Holden. Dave was up by video link only last week. He will be up in person on the 10th of January, but I would love to see a wee bit more support for Dennis Hutchings, John, outside the courts in Belfast. The good people of Ulster see what happened to our good friend Dennis. I hope that people come out, the good people in Ulster come out to see what's happening to their British soldiers. John, it's a slap in the face to the people in Ulster when they see the likes of Jerry Kelly, the man who murdered a prison officer and they made his escape, and he's sitting on the policing board. This man has actually been seen, and quite happily seen, with something you've just touched on, John, the Shankill bomb. And we all know the person that's on about the street today. I just can't wonder how that man's still breathing. But at the end of the day, you have the likes of Jerry Kelly that is so proud to be seen with him. The normal nationalists, John, they are only being fooled by Sinn Féin IRA. That's all they're being fooled by, John. And if you look back, see, we're talking about these woods and people, Dennis Hutchings, come back as 50 years' time. People going, who's Dennis Hutchings? Look his name up. See what happened to Dennis when he was here as a young lad, when he was here in his elderly age. That is something to be proud of, for the name the wood after Dennis. You know, a wee bit of history. There's an awful lot of people, John, what can name woods after. But Dennis Hutchings is the one, especially in this year, our 100th year, his name is the one that stuck with me. Now, we'll go back to Dave Holden. Dave Holden is next to face a farce court. Farce, everybody knows, John, what's, you know, the dogs in the street know. Our soldiers are here to do a job. Now, in the year 2021, they're getting persecuted for doing the same job they were employed to do, John. So I'm on your show tonight. I would urge the people of Ulster to come down to the court on the 10th of January and support Dave Holden. As I said, I would love to see a bit more support for the other ones, John, and the ones still to come. And the people of Ulster to waking up, John, because if they don't, it's going to be too late.
And whenever you think about it, Herbie, again, I clarify this is because, you know, we are the United Kingdom. We're part of the United Kingdom. We're friends, brothers and sisters in England, Scotland and Wales. And it is those friends, those brothers and sisters from the past who are being persecuted and prosecuted, and make no mistake about it. and again, this is me talking not just to British Unionists, but to nationalists or Catholics, these people that haven't been off the backs of the people, these people that have actually swindled you, these people that told you that there was going to be this prospect of some sort of united Ireland. Well, Ireland, even aside from globalization, that Ireland never can be united, but it would never be united whilst those people still exist, whilst those parasites continue to suck the lifeblood out of any prospect of reconciliation in the future. And, you know, they know that, you know that as a nationalist, you know that as a Catholic, that these people, they don't mean you any good whatsoever. All they want is their feet under the table, them to be in control, and then you've seen what they went and they done, along with our unionist politicians, I may add, as you know, consistently in the last number of years. Well, what they do is they make deals to suit themselves and not to suit ordinary people. So isn't it time that people actually got together? Like if you'd have seen this screen from the start, like as in the words of that man who delivered that poem from up and around the Newcastle area in England. You know, that poem was quite fitting. So Herbie, we're coming to a close. We're around the hour and a half mark. And yeah, no, I would literally like to reiterate your words there and say that, you know, whenever we looked at Dennis Hutchings there, whenever that we did see that, you know, yourself and others, you were prepared to go there every day to provide a support for those veterans whenever they were coming. Well, yeah, isn't it time that more of us actually get up of our backsides and we went to the courts, we went to stand and show support for these people, whilst that they're being treated like second-class citizens, whilst the IRA have immunity from prosecution, and yet they are still being scapegoated and they are still being, well, persecuted and prosecuted, which keeps the British government off the hook, in my honest opinion. Let's remember, it is our British government who permit this scapegoating of these veterans. You know, whenever that let me give you a small point of law before that we close, and we'll give you you can talk about your hopes, your fears for the future, Herbie, in a wee second. But a small point of law is this, is that if you go into a business, and let's say, and I often say this, that if let's say that it was a butcher's shop and I fell on a butcher's floor and I broke my arm because an employee had dropped a bit of fat on the floor, well, I'm going to ask this question. Who do I claim off? Do I claim off the business or do I claim off the employee? Well, we all know the answer. We claim off the business because the business is absolutely, ultimately, 100% responsible for that employee. Under no circumstances do we ever take the employee to court or do we claim against the employee. And what's the difference? What's the difference whenever the MOD, whenever they sent soldiers here and they ordered them to stand between warring factions, to stand to be fired upon, to be put into situations where they often did lose their lives? You know, what's the difference? Who should be in court? I believe that it should be the employer. It should be the British government if anything went wrong. And it should also be the terrorists that caused the circumstances whereby that these honourable, decent citizens that they were here serving and protecting the people of the United Kingdom. That's what they were trained to do. And that's what they did in many cases. And we all know that the IRA, they agitated the circumstances whereby that people did lose their lives. You know, they did. We're not here to say that they didn't. But have a close eye, have a think about who should be in court. Who should be in court? I believe that it should be the scapegoaters, if anyone. If anyone. And that's me saying that if anyone, it should be the MOD, not our veterans who are heroes in many more ways than one. Herbie, if you would just like to, close by talking about the things that you want to talk about. No restrictions. Over to you, Herbie, and you let me know when you're finished.
Right, John. My hopes for the future. My hopes for the future that the British government will do the right thing. and end all these forest trials against our soldiers and stop appeasing Sinn Féin IRA terrorists, John. What I do want is for the DUP to do the right thing for the unionist people of Northern Ireland, John. And that is a simple one. Is to walk away from engaging with Republican terrorists sitting up on the hill in a wee cosy bed. Because if they don't walk away from engaging with Republican terrorists now, the DUP are finished. And there a lot of unionists around, no matter who it be, whatever unionist party it may be, they will tell you probably the same thing, John. You know, the DUP, the last time they got the unionist people vote. But sure, we all know what happened there and what they did on the unionist people. But the unionist people won't be duped for a second time. They'll not be adding an E to the end of DUP. Do you know what I mean? Because they won't be duped the second time, John. And the only thing that I hope for, and maybe in the new year, is for the DUP to walk away from engaging with these people that brought this country to its knees for over 30 years, and for the waking up. Because, John, we've been full long enough. Our soldiers are facing the wrath now of a job that took on as young lads. And now, 50 years down the line, they're getting dragged into court for their service. John, there's only one thing, and that's the Sinn Féin IRA are getting appeased. In every way, our government's bending over backwards to appease these, to bring our soldiers, our heroes, as I would call them, to court, to face a forest trial, John. And it's about time it stopped, John, and stopped now.
Herbie, well said. And, you know, again, Jim Werner, if you listen to what Herbie said there at the very, very end, I'm going to ask you to go back and to clip that and to cut it into a small video in order that we can put it out, because I have to say, very, very well delivered, Herbie, and delivered from the heart. And I'm sure everyone would have actually noticed that. Herbie, once again, thanks very much for coming along. And, you know, I've probably 10 more minutes to do here with reference what's happening on Saturday. And Herbie, let's not be a stranger. You know, whenever you hear anything with reference to veterans, just you contact me. And this platform's always available for you to come on here and to talk about what it is that you're doing, what it is that you require. If you need anybody that, you know, just come and stand, and you can use this platform as a place to reach people at any time and at any point in the future. And one thing more is that I'm sure, like myself, you, I, and everybody else looks forward to the day that we'll be standing on that spot that you and I stood on this morning, and we'll be seeing the first tree being planted in honour, in the memory of Dennis Hutchings. And we'll look forward to the 100 members of the community from East Belfast who'll come along to plant a little tree and to dedicate each and every tree in the honour of whoever it is that they see fit. Herbie, thanks very much for coming along, and we'll see you very soon. And I've got to take my hat off to you. You were the first man up with a very, very good suggestion with reference the name of a wood, and you had the site already picked out before I got there, let's just say.
Thanks again for having me, John.
Thank you. We'll see you again very, very soon. Thanks.
We'll see you again, John. Thank you.
So there we go, people. Again, you know, Herbie Walker stepped up to the plate, really did. And, you know, and that's a man, no matter what anybody, you know, would say or whatever, you know, I mean, he gave his time. He goes down to each and every time that there's someone here in court from the veterans fraternity. Well, Herbie and people like Herbie will go along, they'll stand at the courts, they'll provide a support for these people, and you know, and it's a gratefully appreciated support that they would be giving. You know, so much so that Herbie became very good friends along with Dennis Hutchings. So there you go. We've got to take our hats off to him, and again, we're looking forward to the 100 Wood project, and certainly that one for Dennis Hutchings. Now, there were people here who would have said that, I mean, I seen there, I think it was, so I can't remember, I'm just looking, Carl Porter, I think, is that we do hope that we can do this in different places, the Centenary Wood project. Well, Carl, already there are people lining up to suggest where to put things, and without getting into it, with some influential enough type people at the weekend coming to us and saying that that's a very, very good idea, and they were identifying sites up around the north coast in places like Coleraine and places like Ballymoney and places like Bushmills, and they were suggesting names that these woods could be actually named after. So what we need to do is that we need to renew our efforts and to start pushing forward and to talk to the relevant authorities with reference having these woods and making these woods reality and not just something that's being talked about. So Frank, there you go. Herbie's a good man, and he gives us time regularly to go and do things like that. And Frank, yes, I did see that earlier on, and I'll be looking forward to having yourself on here very, very soon, and maybe you can talk about the things that you do. I was talking to a mutual friend last week, and he talked about the let's just say the tour bus, without getting into it, in London. And I do hope to go there very, very soon myself. And sure, maybe you can tell us about the fact that you're a tour guide for that tour bus and whatnot. So that's a man to watch that's on our screen. And what we'll do is we'll have him on very, very soon. He's agreed to come on Restore and talk to us all. So people, on Saturday, this Saturday at 1:30, what we're hoping, and you've heard it before, we'll say it again, is that we're hoping that as many people as humanly possible will come along to the base of Carson. That's at the foot of Stormont there, at the top of the hill, let's just say, and where that what we want to do is that we want to bring along some custom-made Centenary stones. Now, I know that there's a lot of people that are coming, and they may not just come on the day, but they'll come anywhere from the 18th at 1:30 right through to the turn of the year, in where that we're going to go and we're going to collect these little Centenary stones, and we're going to bring them away, we're going to store them, and we're going to make them available to places like, say, for example, the Centenary Wood project. If there's a Centenary Wood, well, we could place some of these stones there, and we could talk about the people that would have placed these stones, because their names will be on them. And so Centenary Wood project, and also literally because Sinn Féin would have suggested that we can't have a centenary stone on the grounds of Stormont for our centenary. Sinn Féin's dictating the terms. Well, what we're going to do is that we're going to go there this Saturday. We're going to celebrate our centenary, and we're going to place our own centenary stones, just as a mark of marking the very fact that in 2021, Northern Ireland was 100 years old. And something, if it's anything to do with me and anything to do with the people that work here at Restore and anything to do with the people that I know, well, it's not over. It is definitely not over, and we'll get another 100 years or more. Believe me, that's the resolve of the people that I've been talking to, and we're not going to let anybody take our country away from us. We are British. We are British. It is our birthright to be British, and democracy. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about this agreement, this internationally recognized agreement that they done in 1998, and where that there was a so-called principle of consent, which has been overridden by the fact that there's a border placed in the North Channel, by the fact that people in Northern Ireland didn't get the same democracy as the people right around the United Kingdom. And this is the corruption of your democracy. This is facilitating globalization. And we will not stand for that. We will definitely not stand for that. And most certainly, we are not going anywhere near that socialist hellhole that I call an Irish Republic. Because that's what it is. Let me reach down here for a moment, and I'm going to show people a centenary stone, what a centenary stone can look like. People, it's now too late really to have these custom made. Now, we may be able to put some names on them for you, but that's just an example of what a centenary stone is. It's a little stone it's had a couple of coats of Plylight masonry paint. It's been painted on. It's had acrylic marker with people's names on them. Hashtag Celebrate 100. Northern Ireland, from 1921 to 2021, it's all those little different messages. I mean, there is one person there, and she'll not mind me actually mentioning the name, but I thought it was a good one. Isabel Montgomery, the Montgomery clan, and the dates from 1921 to 2021, and I thought that was a very, very good message to be on a stone. And look, too many to mention. We've been taking these orders because we commissioned someone to do these stones for us. So we do have a lot of these stones left over. And really at this point, all you could have really is your name on them, because it's now too late. The cutoff point has passed. So if anybody else wants one of those stones, give us a shout, drop us a message, and we'll ensure that you actually get a stone. So based on what Herbie had just been talking about there, we're not really staying any further than here. Based on what Herbie had been talking about, he talked about the Belfast appeasement, and I'm going to mention the words from a poem. And this was from a poem written by Jim Werner. And I have to say that what I did was I jumped on the bandwagon and I wrote the end piece. But Jim Werner would be responsible for the words that said that the Belfast Agreement, it was a disguise. It was built for appeasement, swindle and lies. The peace is a farce. The IRA guns are still there. And London is afraid of another bomb scare. So what I want to do, people, is that I'm going to play us out with a patriotic song. I also want to play that little poem to let people hear the words of this poem. And the reason why is it came off something that what Herbie would have said. Maybe we need Jim to commission another poem about what is going on in our country today, about what is going on right around the United Kingdom, about what it is that Peter Morris finds the need to go and to stand against. Because believe me, people, they may have their different labels, but they have teamed together in order to derail our successes. Well, isn't it time that collectively we done exactly the same? Because we're not going to be losing our country to a conglomerate of airy, furry, airhead, so-called liberal folk. I'll stop there without getting myself into trouble. So, an army of people must be put together with weapons of words which will remain and abide forever. Words are very powerful. You heard that poem at the start. Powerful words can win hearts and minds. Winning hearts and minds can win elections. Winning hearts and minds can put the fear of God into politicians. Let's win those hearts and minds, and let's take our country back. See us all on Monday. I can't help but wonder why so many people, they had to die for being British in our own land, murdered by cowards with their evil hand. The IRA crept back to their bed after leaving so many people dead. A soldier, a cop, a father, a son, a woman, a child, just anyone. But the Unionist people, they did not lie down, fought and defended the Red Hand and the Crown. We stood proud, ready and able. The IRA cried to come to the table. The Belfast Agreement, it was a disguise. It was built for appeasement, swindle and lies. The peace is a farce, the guns are still there, and London's afraid of another bomb scare. Appeasement after appeasement, day after day, provosts in government still getting their way, and our two big parties, well, what can I say? They are sitting in Stormont with the IRA, not listening to the people who put them in place. They ask for support, then they lie to your face. A united Unionist party, some say we need, but there's too much corruption, lies and greed. I can't help but wonder why so many people, they had to die for being British in our own land. You can never shake a terrorist's hand. Think of our country, the red hand on the crown. Listen to the people, stop letting us down. Our leaders have blown the chance to make things right. The whole of unionism, I mean the people, we must unite. So we reach out again with offer of partnership. No time for politicians hell-bent on dictatorship. No puppets, no lackeys, our people deserve better. We will not be sucked in with promises in letter. Meaningful and proactive is the only game in town. We long for a day when politicians stop letting us down. You have one more chance at putting things right. But this time we demand that you stick to the fight. A roadmap must be drawn, agreed by everyone. No hierarchy, no pulling rank is exactly what must be done. An army of people must be put together with weapons of words, which will remain and abide forever. United we stand, divided we most definitely fall.
Just across the Irish Sea stirs a heart of loyalty, raising honor and indignity, drives a will to keep us British free. Not alone are we on this journey, for in a land just across the sea is a hand that reaches out in friendship, and a bond that's lasted centuries. And its hands cross the water, reaching out for you and me, for Queen Ulster and for Scotland, help to keep our loyal people free. Let the cry be no surrender, let no one doubt our loyalty, reaching out to the brave red hand of Ulster is the hand across the sea. Help to keep our loyal people free. Let the cry be no surrender, let no one doubt our loyalty, reaching out to the brave red hand of Ulster is a hand across the sea. Just across the Irish Sea stirs a heart of loyalty, gazing under and dignity. Drive the will to keep us British free. Not alone, we on this journey, or in a land just across the sea. It's a hand that reaches out in friendship. It's the hand across the sea. It's the hand across the sea. It's a hand across the sea.
We didn't join Europe to be swallowed up in some bureaucratic conglomerate where it's Euro this and Euro that and forget about being British. We're British and we're proud of it. Proud of our traditions, proud of our national character.